Hello everyone, and welcome back to Pokepaint, the series where I draw Fakémon to populate my fan-made Pokemon region based on the US state of Florida, the Gladios region. I was going to go on a little thing about how it's been a really long time since I uploaded a video in this series, but according to my YouTube studio, it's only been like 2 weeks since the last episode, so I guess that's only in my head. That being said, it feels like it's been a super long time since the last part, and as such, I'm super excited to get started on the Fire-type gym for this region. As I said in the first video about the gyms, I wanted each gym to represent a common job or aspect of culture in Florida, and so this Fire gym, quite predictably, represents the Miami basketball team, the Miami Heat. When I first thought up an ace Pokemon for the Miami Heat-inspired gym, I thought of a 3-stage line, similar aesthetically to Sock and Throw, that was going to be based on the Miami Heat's mascot, Bernie, but I never got out of the early concept stage with something that I liked. So going back to the drawing board, I tried to think of something that could represent the Miami Heat and basketball as a whole, that still adhered to the design restrictions of the Fire type. I started developing the concept of a Pokemon inspired by the Miami Heat logo of a basketball on fire, and thought of a Pokemon that could curl up into a ball and roll around cloaked in flame to attack. A little research led me to discover that armadillos can in fact be found in Florida, which was surprising to me, but nevertheless, it was a perfect fit. I thought a nervous personality best represented in a visual way its ability to roll into its shell, and I designed its intersecting plate armor to gradually get brighter and yellower with each plate, both to reference the look of red-hot metal, but also so that when the Pokemon rolled up, mostly orange would show, as that shade makes up the bulk of the transition colors between the two shades, making the curled up Pokemon resemble basketball. Although this Pokemon is primarily inspired by the Miami Heat and basketball, there is also a personal side of the design that actually references my younger brother. My younger brother has been into basketball since we were both really young, and he's taken it all the way to the college level in recent years, where now he plays for his school's team. Not only that, when we were young, we both played our first Pokemon games around the same time, and we were both really into Pokemon for a number of years, although he hasn't kept up with the franchise like I have. The first game he played was Heartgold, and the first ever Pokemon he used was a Cyndaquil, and I remember his Donphan was a huge favorite Pokemon of his on his team. And you can see how those two Pokemon, as well as the general Generation 2 aesthetics, influenced my design. The name Bangolin references its ability to light itself on fire by sparking its shell on the hard ground, creating a bang, being a portmanteau of bang and pangolin, an animal with similar adaptations to an armadillo from another part of the world. Bangolin, the fireball Pokemon. Using the elastic muscles around the edges of their plate armor, they can curl up into a tight protective ball. The plates of this armor are made out of a flint-like material, and when they roll around at high speeds, their shell chips on the ground and creates a spray of sparks that make Bangolin appear like a racing ball of fire. Timid and reclusive in the wild, they will bolt away from anything that they perceive as a threat. In the evolved form, I wanted to keep most of the ideas from the original, including its ability to curl up into a ball and light that ball on fire. Its plates would appear more jagged and like individual explosions, and its mild personality would juxtapose with this explosive imagery. Its design was inspired by kaiju, similar to how a lot of Generation 2 Pokemon are, and this was yet another way that this design was inspired by my idea to make a Pokemon that my brother would like. I added some fire whirl patterns to the uninteresting parts of the design, for no other reason as it filled up the more boring spaces. I imagined that this Pokemon would have a new signature move, and though the first form would primarily use the move Flame Wheel as its stab, I imagined that the level before it evolves into its final form, it could learn the move Cannon Curl. A base 60 power move, it would at first seem kind of weak for a signature move, except for the fact that its strength builds every consecutive turn it's used, basically being a fire-type rollout. Its name Kaboomadillo is a portmanteau of Kaboom and Armadillo. Kaboomadillo, the Explosion Pokemon, and the evolved form of Bangolin. When they walk, the sound of explosions can be heard. This is caused by the plate armor on its back clacking together and reverberating loudly due to their unique internal structure. They can strike this plate armor with their claws to create sparks like a flint and steel, and they use this ability to generate fireballs that they launch at their enemies. They curl up into a heavy armored cannonball and cloak themselves in flame. Attacking by rolling in laps as if it were on a racetrack, they build speed and power with every consecutive pass. Moving on to the Fire-type gym leader design, I obviously wanted to have the basketball inspirations be the most upfront part of the design. My initial concept was to create a tall, lanky young man in a jersey reminiscent of the Miami Heat away game jerseys, and whose hair would reference his Fire-type proficiency in some way. In the end, the final design was basically exactly how I imagined it in my head. Though at first I thought it might be difficult to represent the more overtly sport-related parts of the design in the Pokemon style, it actually ended up being relatively easy, as most of the Galar gyms are influenced by soccer anyways, and as such there's a lot of reference for what these jersey-type outfits would look like in the Pokemon world. The final look ended up being a combination of Kabu and Raihan, and I decided, based on my idea about the hair representing or referencing fire, was to make it look like an explosion, in the way that it would be a collection of black and orange dreads or braids that would be tied back in a way to form the silhouette of an explosion. I very purposefully drew him with a confident and upbeat personality, as this shows both his confidence in his ability and his love for sports, which in this case would be Pokemon battles and not basketball. One of the last things that I decided was that I'd put a number on his jersey, as is customary with most basketball jerseys, and I thought that the number 3, which represented him as the third gym leader, was a perfect fit. His name, Coleby, references hot coals for the fire inspiration, but also references a basketball player, Dwight Coleby. But to be honest, that last part was just a happy accident, as I looked up if there was a basketball player by that name after the fact. To be honest, I don't know that much about basketball, or most sports, really. Now that we have our gym leader designed, as well as the ace Pokemon that will be used in the battle, it's time to describe what it would look like to take on the Soleil City Gym. After earning the Astro Badge in Fapalo Town, it would be a long journey to Soleil City. The gym would be like the Galar gyms in the way that the battle would take place in a giant stadium. This gym wouldn't have a traditional puzzle, rather in its place, you and all of the challengers would have to battle each other in a tournament-style gauntlet, where only the winner would win the right to take on the gym leader. This would functionally be 3 battles for the player that would go up in level against trainers that would use Pokemon like Magmar, Slugma, Pyroguma, Fyrant, Reptiderm, and Bangolin. Winning the tournament, you would step forward onto the battlefield. If you are in normal mode, Gym Leader Coleby would send out his first Pokemon, a Reptiderm, at level 26 with the ability Rough Skin. It would have the moveset Ember for Stab and Sunny Day that would act as its setup to boost the Fire-type moves for itself and its teammates. Smog would have the chance to poison the target, weakening your team for the Pokemon that would come next, and Horn Attack for coverage. Next would be Privant at level 26 with the ability Compound Eyes. Its moveset consists of Incinerate, which would not only be a stab move, but it would get rid of any items that your team would be holding. Bug Bite is a bug stab, as well as Fell Stinger for the same reason. With the fire and bug stab, I feel sorry for any of you who chose Banana Go at the beginning of your journey. And finally, Dig would be another unexpected move for coverage. The final Pokemon on Colby's normal mode team would be Kaboomadillo at level 28, with the ability Flame Body. It would be holding a Charcoal to boost its fire-type moves. With a combination of Charcoal and the set-up Sunny Day, you and your team might be quite literally toast. It has the moves Cannon Curl for stab and the building damage effect that we talked about earlier, as well as Smokescreen to lower your accuracy, Protect to protect itself, and Slash for diversity. His challenge team would change both by increasing the levels of the Pokemon on it and also by switching out one of the members. The lead Reptiderm would be switched out with a lead Magmar at level 28 with the ability Flame Body. It would have Fire Punch for stab, Smoke Screen to lower your accuracy, Confuse Ray for confusion, and Flame Wheel just to be on theme. Pryvant's moves and ability go unchanged, however it does get a level increase to 28. And finally, Kaboomadillo also goes mostly untouched, with a boost to level 30 and swapping out Slash for Metal Claw. Yet another way to devastate any of you trainers that would have a slow gripe at this point in your journey. But if somehow you could find a way to defeat this young prodigy trainer, you would gain the Fire Up badge, as well as the TM for Sunny Day. As for now, that will be all about our third gym leader and the Fire-type Pokemon that will call his gym home. But that's not to say that we're anywhere near done yet. Next time, we will be visiting the Grass-type gym in Tropo Town, and we will be discovering together the 3-stage Grass-type Pokemon that will be the ace there. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and a very special thanks to my patrons STE, Alan Michael White, and Vex for their continued support of PokePaint and other projects like it here on the channel. If you want to join them in their support by getting access to my content early, as well as other early access perks, you can join for as little as $3 a month. That'll do it for now, so thank you for watching. If you liked this episode of PokePaint, then leave a like, and if you want to see more like it, then subscribe, and turn on the bell to get notified when I upload next.